Hello everybody, my name is Repeat Ron and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at the active perks in Deep Rock Galactic and ranking them accordingly to this tier list solely based on my own opinion. So if you have a different opinion than me, feel free to put it down in the comments below. I look forward to talking with you down there. But this is going to be ranking them based on how good I think they are. So last time we did the passives, now we're doing the active perks. And let's just get started with the very first perk, which is Beastmaster. Beastmaster makes it so that you can tame a grunt and have him do your bidding. He's your little minion. He's your little Steve. He can run around and attack stuff. For each tier of this, Steve gets stronger. So at tier 1, he gets no bonus damage. At tier 2, he gets 100% more damage. Tier 3, it's 200%. And tier 4, 300% bonus damage. That is actually really useful. You can just go up to any grunt that you want. This includes guards and slashers. And just befriend them just by holding your E button or holding your E key. I don't know what it is on controller. And once you tame the grunt, he will be fully healed, but he will not get any armor back that he lost in fighting you or fighting anything else. So keep that in mind. Steve also is affected by any sort of bonuses in the game at all. So depending on the match, if there is mutations like regenerative bugs, Steve will regenerate. If there's lethal enemies, he will do more damage. And if there's parasites, he will still explode into parasites. I don't believe the parasites fight for you, but I could be wrong about that. I don't know if I've ever had a Steve on a parasite mission. So if you guys know about that, please tell me down below. I'm really curious if you get parasites on your side too. Steve also takes reduced friendly fire damage. He only takes 2% of total friendly fire damage from anything except for overtime effects like the sticky flames of the flamethrower. He'll take full damage from that. So try not to light your Steve on fire. That would be bad for him. He also freezes, or he also breaks free of freezing effects twice as fast as normal grunts do. So that's pretty useful. Overall, having a Steve run around with you is actually really good. I really like Beastmaster. It does have kind of a long cooldown because it's 300 seconds between making another Steve. So you have to wait 5 minutes to get another Steve, but in that 5 minutes, it is pretty nice to have another little minion run around and fight for you. It's especially useful on like Engineer, where you already have 2 turrets that can be your minions, and you have another Steve that can be a minion. I like using it quite a bit with that, and I think it's probably like an A tier active skill. If it was on a shorter cooldown, if it was something like a 2-minute cooldown, this would easily be S tier. Even like a 3-minute, it would probably be S tier, but at 5 minutes, there are matches that I've had where you make a Steve runs out, and then a bunch of exploders come out and blow up Steve, and that's the end of it. And you have to wait 5 minutes to get another one. Now, that's still more useful than having all those exploders come out and kill you, obviously, but it kind of sucks that your minion died and you need to go get another one, but you got to wait for it. So moving on to our next perk, we have Berserker. Berserker makes it so that you become enraged. You can just do this by simply activating your power attack for a second time. And this will give you 10 seconds of Berserk. When activating Berserk, you just get to use your power attack much faster. It makes it so your power attack with your pickaxe is pretty much has no cooldown, so you can just keep attacking with it, which is really good. The power attack from the pickaxe is really strong. And then this goes on cooldown. So initially it goes on cooldown for 10 minutes, then 8 minutes, 6 minutes, and 4 minutes at the lowest at tier 4. At tier 4, 4 minutes isn't that bad because usually you don't get a huge swarm every 4 minutes or so, even on the really high difficulties like extreme and lethal. It's not too uncommon to have like a 4-minute break, and you can actually clean up an entire horde even on like lethal with Berserk pretty easily without having to use any of your ammo or any of your other gear. So it's pretty good for that. And it can be really strong against big enemies too. If they're not focusing you, something like an oppressor, you can get behind it and keep smacking it with Berserk and kill it fairly quickly. Now there is some issues with this that I've seen other players use, and that is as soon as they activate Berserker, they get incredibly aggressive to where they just try to run into the middle of the enemy and try to smash them as fast as possible. That's usually not the best use of this, at least at higher difficulties. At lower difficulties, you can definitely get away with that. But at higher difficulties, you usually kind of want to use this as a defensive option to just continually back up and thin out a horde as quickly as possible, or kill a horde before it can really, kind of compact together and really swarm you or your team. That's when it's used the best, and I think Berserker is actually probably one of the best overall active abilities in the game. It's very strong. I think I'd put it in lower S tier. It's kind of hard though, because the 4 minutes cooldown can take a while. You can use it accidentally as well. I've done that plenty of times where I've meant to power attack something and then just accidentally clicked it again. So there is that kind of annoyance that comes with it, but with time you will get used to that and, you know, not do it as often. So I think Berserker's still probably lower S tier. All right, up next we have Dash. Dash just makes it so that when you activate it, you get a short burst of speed. This lasts for 1.5 seconds. You also remove all slowdown reductions. So this can work in goo, or it can work in frost, or in the sandstorm, where you can just move quickly. And you move 2.5 times, or you move 2.2 times faster when activating Dash. This has a cooldown. The cooldown just reduces with levels, so it starts out at 40 seconds, then 35, 30, and 25 seconds. Dash is kind of a useful overall ability if you remember to use it, because you can actually dodge certain hits with it. You can use it to get places a little bit quicker than you normally would. That's not usually the use of it. Usually you use it to get away from enemies, and it can be really good on classes that don't have high mobility. Classes like the engineer or the gunner can definitely make use of this, where if suddenly you start getting swarmed around your turrets or something, you can dash away and save yourself. Or like with gunner, you can dash somewhere else and then continue firing with your primary weapon, your minigun or your autocannon or something, or put up a shield. It's a pretty good overall versatile perk. It's actually really versatile because it doesn't have a hugely long cooldown on it, so you can use it pretty often. You can also use this to jump ledges that you normally wouldn't be able to because you do have the speed buff, but that can also be a bit risky. I like Dash quite a bit. I think it's a pretty good perk, and I'm probably going to put it into A tier. It's like an extremely simple perk, extremely simplistic, but very versatile perk, so I think A tier is where it belongs. All right, then we got Field Medic. This is probably going to be the perk that you see the most on everybody because it's pretty much the best perk in the game. This makes it so you revive your teammates faster. 15% to start out with, 20%, and then 25%. And at tier 4, you can revive them at 30% speed. You can revive them at 30% faster. Plus, you get an instant revive on a teammate. That is really, really good. Mostly the instant revive is just what is so useful because it can be used so well in clutch situations. If, say, your teammate dies, you get up, you know, you're almost dead, you run over there, you insta-heal them, you know, then you go down, and all the bugs kind of back away because your teammate just got up, they insta-heal you, suddenly you just clutch that, and both you guys are up to potentially survive that wave. And just being able to passively revive your teammates faster is really good, especially if you're playing a class like Gunner, where you have your shield. You just throw your shield on a down teammate, you can pick them up quicker. Shield will give you guys some protection. If you're playing Scout, it's really good too, because you can lure a large amount of enemies away, you know, zip line back to your teammate, pick them up faster than what they normally would. And even if your teammate goes down again, it's not that big a deal. You can run around and pick them back up again and have them kill more bugs. Yeah, overall, this is like pretty much the best perk and probably going to the top of S tier. All right, up next, we got Heightened Senses. Heightened Senses makes it so that you can sense any sort of enemies that are going to grab you. So this includes cave leeches, the grabbers, or the sharks, the sand shark looking things. I don't know exactly what they're called. This makes it so you will get a notification around your screen being kind of a white glow that will tell you that something is around trying to grab you. You can also activate this, but only once you get grabbed. Once you get grabbed, at least for tier 1, you can kill the grabber once per mission. So you get one free escape once per mission at tier 1. At tier 2, you get 2 escapes, but it has a 90-second cooldown on the second insta-kill that you can use. And then at tier 3, it's still 2 escapes, but it's at a 5-second cooldown. This one's incredibly good on the Cave Leech cluster increase, or potentially the Bacteria Plague mutator, because there will be more grabbers then. Grabbers aren't as big a deal as cave leeches most of the time because cave leeches can be kind of easily hidden or overlooked. And this is really good for if you like to go off outside of the team, because essentially you don't have to worry about the team saving you. You get 2 escapes that you can use. So in like random matches, this is actually a pretty good ability. Just because you won't die by, accidentally going a little bit too far from the team and they can't get up to you. So it's pretty useful for that. And again, it's another straightforward perk, but I think it's a pretty strong one. I'm going to put it into A tier. If this is on like Cave Leech cluster increase, then this is definitely S tier, because pretty much everybody will want it just because it'll just make the match so much easier then. All right, next one we got is Hover Boots. Hover Boots makes it so once you're in free fall, you can hold in the C key and then hover. You can hover for 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds, or 3.5 seconds, depending on the tier. And the cooldown is also reduced for each of those at 120 seconds, 105 seconds, 90 seconds, and 75 seconds. This makes it so when you hover, you pretty much lose all momentum, and it counts as just restarting the fall. You can also burn enemies below you with the Hover Boots. It doesn't do that much damage, but you can do it. You can also move a little bit with the Hover Boots, but you likely won't be able to go very far because of the short time that you actually get to use the Hover Boots. This one's pretty good for people that fall off cliffs pretty often. If you have a problem falling off cliffs, if you just have an issue with gravity, Hover Boots are pretty good for you. You can use them then. They're pretty good with the Scout, though. I do use them with the Scout fairly often. Every other class, not so much, but Scout I do because it's kind of annoying to see like a fossil up on the ceiling at the highest point of the ceiling, and you just want to, shoot your grappling hook up there and get it. But, if you take the fall damage, you might not die, but it's going to take a lot of health out, and you're going to be looking around for like red sugar or something like that a little ways out. So having those Hover Boots where you can just go up and grab that fossil and then just drop down and be safe, that's pretty nice. And that's mostly what I use it for. Overall, I don't think it's a amazing perk on most people. I think it's okay, and I'm probably going to put it into C tier for most people. Again, if you have problems with cliffs and gravity, it might be worth looking into. And if you like playing the Scout and don't like taking fall damage, then it's definitely something to look into. For Scout alone, I'd probably put this up into B tier because I do use it pretty often with them. But for everybody else, it's kind of C tier. It's okay, but not one of my top picks all the time. All right, Iron Will. Iron Will is an interesting one. This makes it so once you've gone down, you can pick yourself back up. At tier 1, it's 6 seconds, tier 2, it's 8 seconds, tier 3, it's 10 seconds, and tier 4, it's 12 seconds. So you get potentially up to 12 seconds of invulnerability. You also cannot take damage during these 12 seconds, and all of your guns are reloaded instantly. You also have slightly increased movement speed by about 20%, and more pickaxe damage by 2.5 times. So you can actually hit enemies pretty hard with the pickaxe. However, this doesn't apply to the power attacks of the pickaxe, only just the base pickaxe hit. You also just have 30% resistance towards slowdowns, so anything like sand, snow, goo, you don't move as slow in them, and you actually have power attacks that come up faster using Iron Will too. So that's kind of nice. Now you can actually pick yourself up with Iron Will, and that's one of the strategies to do with it, because once you hop up, enemies are not going to be targeting you because you're invulnerable to all damage. You can go over and get some red sugar and heal yourself up, and then you won't go down once the Iron Will runs out. You can also use this pretty well in conjunction with the Field Medic ability, because you can instantly res a teammate up just with the insta-heal from Field Medic. So you could potentially do that, assuming both of you guys go down and one of you has Iron Will. Somebody can get up, res the other person, then res that person, and potentially be back in the game again. So Iron Will is a pretty good clutch mechanic, but then again, it's only 12 seconds. You can also get health back from Vampire too. So this isn't really a bad perk to take if you're going to run Vampire on Driller, as I mentioned in the passive perks, where Driller can make the best use of Vampire. Freeze a bunch of enemies real fast and then kill them with your drills and heal up. And then you can potentially just keep going from there. If you can find red sugar, you can obviously pick yourself up there too. Iron Will also resets at the end of each deep dive too. So you can potentially use it 3 times during a deep dive. So keep that in mind as well, because each of those matches count as different matches. It's pretty good for just getting your teammates out of bad position. It's also pretty good on Gunner. If you use this to get up, throw your shield down to res somebody else. And then if you go down, you're okay because you're in the shield, so the person you rezzed can also pick you back up, and you'll be back in the game. It's really good for clutch situations, but you're not always going to use it. If your teammates are good and if you're good, then you're probably never going to use Iron Will. But if the situation comes up where you do need to use it, you can. And I think I'd probably put it into lower A tier. It used to be better. I think it used to last longer or have some other effect. I can't remember what it was. Or maybe it's just because I think it's actually because they reworked some of these perks and made them better. To where Iron Will isn't as good, but it's still a pretty solid perk overall. Then we have See You in Hell. So this one actually has a passive to it that's right after an enemy hits you, you get bonus melee damage for a little bit, which is a little bit strange. You can also activate this up to 3 times per mission. This makes a Neuropulse explosion around you whenever you go down and choose to activate it. This deals damage to every enemy around you, as well as do electric damage to every enemy around you and scare off all enemies. This does have a cooldown of 2 minutes per explosion that you can do. With the second tier, it goes up to still 2 minutes of cooldown, but your radius increases. And then at tier 3, your radius increases even further, and it's only at a 1 minute cooldown. So you can do that, and this does pure damage towards everything. It does 666 pure damage towards everything around you, so there's nothing that can take passively reduced damage from this. This also reduces the movement speed of all enemies around you just because of the electric, and I believe it can apply the electric status as well, which makes enemies take more damage. I could be wrong about this. I don't use See You in Hell a whole lot. It's much more of a fun use of a perk, and it's pretty good for anybody who's not that experienced, who goes down pretty often. I would still recommend other perks over this, though, if you're new to the game and you are having trouble. Things like Beastmaster or Filled Medic will probably serve you better, or even like Heightened Senses, but See You in Hell is an alternative to that. I did say this has a passive of dealing more damage after something hits you, and it's actually quite a bit. It's actually almost triple the damage with melee hits after something has hit you, which isn't really that bad, especially if you want to combine this just as the passive with Vampire and get more melee out of it. It's still probably not something that I would pick, but it's not a bad perk overall, and I think I'm going to put it into B tier. It's pretty fun to play around with, and it can be useful. All right, and then our last active perk is Shield Link. This has a passive on it as well. Whenever you are within 4 meters of your teammates, both you and your teammate recharge their shield 50% faster. That alone makes this really good because just having your shields up more often means you're not going to be taking as much health damage. So that's always good. And it can really help during a swarm where if somebody gets beat up a little bit, they can run back to you and, get their shield back up and be all right. The active ability makes it so that you overcharge a teammate's shield. So this will just target whoever you're looking at when you use it, and it will increase their shield by 300%. So they get a 300% shield for 20 or 30 seconds, depending on what tier you have this in. At tier 1, it's 20 seconds at a 3-minute cooldown. At tier 2, it's 30 seconds at a 3-minute cooldown. And at tier 3, it's 30 seconds at a 2-minute cooldown. This perk is really good on most players. It's just passive tankiness for your team, which is great. Unless, of course, there's the shield disruption. If there's shield disruption, this perk does nothing. You can still activate it. It just doesn't do anything because there won't be any shields and you can't overcharge 0. So 300% of 0 is still 0. It can be really good for holding positions, though. And it's overall a pretty strong perk. I would probably put this one also somewhere up into A tier. Very good and pretty versatile. So yeah, this is where I'd probably put all of the active perks in Deep Rock Galactic. All of them are pretty usable. The only one that kind of stands out is Hover Boots, and that one's more of a niche use. It's still not terrible on anybody, but it's not fantastic on most players. So, and then most of the other perks, though, are pretty good and can be used in combination with each other pretty well. Tell me what your favorite active perks are down in the comments below. I'm pretty sure there's going to be plenty of people that say See You in Hell is their favorite. Maybe not the best, but their favorite perk, and I can I can see why. So thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did and you're not subscribed, be sure that you get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I put out new videos. And if you'd like to support the channel even further than that, you can go over to my merch store and pick up some new merch. You can also go over to the Patreon, pledge over there. It's only $1 to join and you get early access to my videos. And thanks so much for coming and watching this video. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you guys all have a great day. I will talk to all of you guys next time. Till then, stay cool and bye.